Hello, and welcome back to LVLS Plays present Shmup Festival with our second installment. This time covering VIC Tokai's Battle Mania. VIC Tokai is an interesting company. They are probably best known in the West for Clash of Demon Head, which had enough pedigree to end up as a Scott Pilgrim reference. But their general output, I think, wasn't as well received overseas. When I think of VIC Tokai, I think of C-tier developer. They also did the Psycho Fox / Decap Attack / Kid Cool games, the Creon Conquest, which was trying to remember the Japanese name because it's very different. It's like Magical Girl Doropi or something like that, which is a very Mega Man-esque style of game, but with a witch instead. And then they also published the Chronos fighting games Criticom and Dark Rift, which, those aren't really hailed as very good, and Criticom is often considered one of the worst fighting games ever released. So that's a little dubious. But we're here to talk about what is probably their best work in anything, which is the Battle Mania games. These were created by Takeyon, who was a longtime developer at the company at this point. There's a great Shmup Relations translation of an interview he did in 2004 that will be linked in the description that I highly recommend. Another great resource on these games is Kid Fenris. He loves this series and has probably devoted more words in English than anybody else towards them. So I will link that I kind of referenced before I started recording, as well as just the general hashtag on his blog for all Battle Mania related things. This was released in the United States first as Troubleshooter, and then a couple months later it came out as Battle Mania on the Mega Drive. The game was a labor of love for Takeyon, who had been wanting to make this game in arcades, but was fighting upper management, and eventually when the arcade team kind of dismantled and started focusing on Super Famicom, they gave him a green light so something would happen for the Mega Drive, which was his console preference. He was a Sega fan. With protagonist Mania, or Madison as she was localized to, in a very caricatured, goofy form, stomping the hell out of a Super Famicom, which Sega didn't like. And they managed to catch that in the North American release, but it didn't get removed from the Japanese one that followed. So it's just kind of funny how this game really shows a lot of his personality throughout. It's very goofy, it's very self-parody, it's fun, it's wacky. I think that there's just so much just charm in these two games. I've played about the first 3 stages of the original Battle Mania, and I haven't played the sequel yet, so this will be fun. Alright, here we are with Battle Mania. This is the Japanese version, so it's Mania and Maria instead of Madison and Crystal. But even though they don't use the Troubleshooter name in Japanese, it's still there in the credits. So I'll be playing this on easy. that makes more sense to me logistically. The downside to playing it in Japanese is that I can't speak it, so you'll just be stuck like me unless you happen to know how to read it. But the basic plot is that Mania and Marina, I'm playing Splatoon 3 side order, Maria, I believe they are mercenaries for hire, and they have been contracted to stop some doctor from trying to take over the world or something. Before you load out, you get to pick a weapon number. I think I'll just start with 1 and we'll see if that works. And you can just kind of tell right off the bat that this does have a bit of a goofy sense of humor. So the big thing is that with Maria, she can flip at the push of a button. So you can't turn Mania around. So you have to use Maria to attack things coming up behind you. Which is kind of a cool thing. And generally speaking, it probably pays off to have her usually facing behind you. I got hit there. So you'll, see her say, ouch, as she gets hit. Looks like I've got a drone helping me out. I think the charge up there is the super that they were talking about. We'll find out here in a minute. Alright, so basically as you get hit, that's a life. And I don't think this game has a lot of continues. Or any continues. So, I will probably be save stating often. Let me check. Sweet. I'm using the Genesis or the Mega Drive Mini 2 controller for this. And you can see that I've got some saves on my Genesis Mini that I totally, these games so are on it, you just have to put in a very complicated cheat code. If only they truly were. So let's try number 2 this time. See if that gets us a little bit better results. So I believe the S are speed and the P is power. And now that I kind of know what's coming up, I'll save state before we fight on all of those big things. I think this game's just got a very charming look to it. The soundtrack is fine. I think the sequel has a better soundtrack in a lot of ways. these minimally on your screen. Let's see, I think I can generally just kind of stay here in the middle. Just dodge the bullets. And have a much easier time. Alright. Collecting these hearts doesn't matter, you'll just build on it. Is that an Avengers? Could be, maybe. Alright, so here's the first boss. You can just immediately tell this game's just got a sense of humor. I don't know if this is just easy mode being really nice. Or if the game's just being a little weird. Or this is just a goofy goofy situation. Ah, we're not done yet. So now that it's behind us, only Maria can attack it. We can't go too far back or we're going to run into some problems. Okay, we have, I believe, wrapped up stage 1. And we didn't die that time, so we're off to a great start after a very shaky first round. So we're trying to rescue this prince, if I recall correctly. And the game has a, again, very goofy sense of humor throughout, and you can tell that he's been pinned to a board that he's been spun around on. We'll go ahead and try weapon 3 this time. I really don't know what these downs do. Are they not good? It is kind of funny that just hugging this wall translated to a whole lot of extra lives. interesting thing. I didn't get hurt hanging out up here. We're in decent condition now. Suddenly got faster. That's a tough stage. I remember that being a pretty tricky one when I did it last time. I believe I beat this stage and then I took a break. So it looks like if you don't shoot for a while, you will build your charge back up. I really would like to not eat it. Alright. I wasn't 100% convinced I was not going to get hit. I got ouched by something. The stage does a really good job of making you feel incredibly uncomfortable. This section is not fun. Let's make sure that we get Madison over here, because she's gonna have to do like all the work. Alright, well, we are currently where we started from. Could be worse. Alright, we got through level 3. Got an extra life back, so we are essentially right where we left off. And I believe I started this stage, so I don't know what's coming next. I don't think I actually fired off this one to see what its charge shot is. See what we get into now. I am not sure what those down arrows do. I'm going to make the assumption that they're bad. I'm just getting thrown off by these things. Alright, well, we started getting things from behind, and they totally were not going in my favor. Interesting enemies. kind of cheap. I don't think my foot was actually in there. Oh, it was those things. Thought they would come back at some point. Okay, well, we've rescued the prince. I have 1 life left. Oh, now I have 2. Alright, boy, doing that on a controller where you hold start and it goes to the hold menu is a pain. That's the code of Mania jumping on the Super Famicom. It all has to be like the exact same timing. You can hear me clicking on this thing. Apparently my coordination is not great when it comes to this. So we've rescued the prince. But level 5 does things a little bit interestingly. So the prince joins us in level 5, and we lose our ability to charge and our drone. But he moves around. He's kind of the opposite of us, so that's something to keep in mind. We've got a bunch of big rockets to dodge. And there should be one more. There it is. And if you don't mind me, These enemies are awful. These pterodactyls. Ooh. These ones are not much better, honestly. These enemies are just kind of basic. They just kind of spin around. Pesky. Okay, I'll take this absolute sheer luck. We'll take that. It's unfortunate that the Genesis Mini has a rather obnoxious noise when you get into the main menu. Whew, we're having a tough go with this fight. I'm gonna have to save state a little bit more frequently. Alright, took a few attempts, but we beat the bird. I've got 1 life left. What could go wrong? Alright, well, I earned 2 lives in that process. That's great. So we have returned the prince. There's a bunch of random cheerleaders for some reason. Maria just left. Femtendo. Credits get interrupted. You could definitely tell, like, there was some anime influence on this, but in, like, the best ways. Alright, so it's just me, apparently, dealing with the last boss. I don't really need to speed down. I'll take the points. Oh, look at that, I got 7 lives all of a sudden. The problem is that I can't turn around, so I'm kind of stuck. That's interesting. Didn't see that coming. Alright, that seemed like a good place to save. I like how this guy has, like, a literal bat or cat on his head. It's a rat. His actual heart is coming out of him. This game's so creative. Oh. He's also got a cannon in there. Alright, let's reload. Okay, attempt number 2. Okay, learning a little bit here. So we don't want him to get too close to the edge. Second form is his heart. And we'd like to shoot that. Okay, we got some good damage there, and now we know. He's gonna do that. Come back over here. Big ray blast, and we'll see if the fire then leads to heart again. That it does. Okay. See if this pattern stays the same. It appears to be. So unless we have a second form in this boss fight, decides to mix things up a bit. I think we kind of got it. Wow, the rat went after me. That would have been annoying if that was my last life. Okay, well, clearly we're not done yet. Now I've only got 2 lives to figure out this phase, so... His head will cause damage. Oh, somehow I got more lives. I don't know when that happened. But I will take them. Oh, good. My partner's back. Ouch. Got more lives, too. Alright, that's level 6, and we are done with Battle Mania. I love getting extra lives when I'm done. I am sure that the writing is being goofy here, as I would expect this game to do. Alright, well, we're going to be playing its sequel on the next Shmup Festival. I made a decision to not do them both at the same time because of the editing process. It takes a while to do these, to kind of nip out all of the save states. So I'm trying to make things a little bit nicer for you as a viewer. I definitely think out of the VIC Tokai games I've played, which is a few, that this is among the best, easily. It controls pretty well, it looks pretty good, for an early Genesis game especially. It's got a pretty decent soundtrack, it's delightfully goofy and fun, and it's a lot of enjoyment out of just looking at everything. I love its irrelevance. It's just doing a lot of goofy stuff that's a lot of fun. I'm very excited to try its sequel because I've heard that it's much better, even compared to this. It's a shame that it never got localized. That does seem to be a big tragedy, especially since this game did eventually sell well in Japan. And probably would have sold better here if it actually had like a decent amount of release, but I think it was a pretty low print run for Troubleshooter. But we got to see all of what this game has to offer, including its cheats. And I really liked it. I don't think I'm going to put it in my top 111 games, but I would say this is VIC Tokai's best game that I have currently played. And it's just really charming. Takion the Barbarian. Clearly the developers had fun. And we'll talk more about Battle Mania and basically its conclusion in the next episode. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time. Oh, got crushed.
Whoops.